Hello you lovely bunch, welcome back to my channel. It's nice to see you here. Today I'm doing a little bit of a different video to what I've done so far on my channel, and I'm going to be talking to you about my anxiety and kind of my experience with it and answering a few of your questions about it as well. We're in a bit of a different setup today. It's going to be a very casual video. What I find with a lot of videos about mental health, such as anxiety, depression, etc. being spoken about on YouTube, I find that there's a lot of dramatization around it, and that's not to say that you can't do it that way. I mean, I know that it's obviously a very difficult topic for a lot of people to talk about, but in the same way, personally I just don't want to add to that. I want to feel like mine is going to have a very casual feel to it. I'm very open and very honest. I'm just going to go through a very quick kind of backstory about me and my experience with anxiety, and then I'm going to answer a few of your questions. If I look down here, I've got some notes, so just bear with me. Just a disclaimer before we get started, I'm not a doctor. Please do not take this as medical advice. I am just speaking upon my experiences and how I personally deal with it on a day-to-day basis. I suffer with generalised anxiety disorder, and that's GAD for short. My boyfriend once told me a really good analogy, and I thought it was a really great way to describe it to people who aren't sure about how someone with anxiety feels. So the analogy is, imagine the film Jaws with the shark, the very famous one, and the whole film but without the shark ever appearing. It's that feeling of like impending doom, but nothing ever happens. So my anxiety started when I was 15 years old. I am now 21. So it started around my GCSEs, and do I think that there is a correlation between the two? I'm not sure. It's a stressful time. If you're around that age and you're watching this now, then I mean, study hard, try your hardest and everything. I did, but don't let it get to the point where it's consuming you. Since I've left school, not once have I ever been asked what I got in sociology or geography or anything like that. So I guess the kind of first things that I can remember about having my anxiety is I used to miss school a lot, and when my mum would ask why, like in the morning, if like I would just start crying, like the thought of leaving the house, something terrible was going to happen. I know that sounds so dramatic, especially if you don't know what anxiety is like, but it's the only way I could describe how I felt. Fun fact, I've already filmed this video once before and I hated the footage because all I did was ramble the whole time. As you can tell, now here sitting in front of you, it's a lot more manageable. Over the years I have tried counselling, I have tried medication, I've tried meditation, I've tried lots of stuff. There was a particular part of my anxiety where I got very low and you could say that I was depressed, and yeah, put on antidepressants and I hated them. I was on them for about a month and I just didn't get on with them. That's not to say, I know some people who have used medication to control anxiety and depression before, and they swear by it, it makes them feel amazing, and I'm not saying that no one should try it. I'm just saying for me personally it didn't work, but this is the point, like if you're going through something like this, you need to try all avenues and see what works best for you. Don't just take other people's advice like me. I'm not sitting here telling you you should only do this and you should only do that. I'm just telling you, like, try everything, try whatever makes you feel good and stick to it. And then I met Jesse, my current boyfriend, for anybody who isn't a regular watcher of my channel. And yeah, so we met and he didn't really understand my anxiety at all. So at the beginning of our relationship, very early on, it took a great toll on him and us as a couple, and that's when I realised I needed to do something. So I actually went to counselling for 6 weeks. And that was all I needed, honestly. Those 6 weeks, just chatting to a stranger who has no idea who you are. Just to say, nothing terrible has ever happened to me in my life. I'm not saying, like, you don't have to have something awful happen to you to have like mental health issue or illness or anything like that. I've had a wonderful childhood, a very supportive family and friends growing up. Like nothing awful has ever happened to me, touch wood. This can literally affect anybody. It can affect your neighbour, your friend, your mum, your dad, like. But yeah, to have somebody who just didn't really know anything about me at all and like be able to go into that room and just chat their ear off for an hour basically and just get everything out, it was just like a weight off my shoulders. So yeah, I went once a week for 6 weeks and that was all I needed. I just stopped seeing her, stopped seeing my counsellor. So that was about 2 years ago now I went for my counselling. Since then, anxiety is nowhere near as bad. I mean, it flares up in situations. If something rocks my boat a little bit, it can flare up a little. So for example, unfortunately, not too long ago, I did lose a family member and my anxiety got very bad for a couple of weeks around then. I deal with it a little better. I just know that like any big changes in my life, I'm kind of more susceptible to have a bout of bad anxiety. Previously, it's been really hard to deal with my anxiety in job positions because not everywhere you go they are very understanding. Because that's the one thing that is really affected in my life, which I'm not very proud of. But as soon as I used to get anxious, I used to just want to move on and like make another change in my life, so I would constantly hop from job to job to job. But yeah, that's definitely smoothed out a whole lot now because my anxiety is not as bad anymore. So yeah, just wanted to put it out there that if anybody else is feeling the same or they're having the same situation, life goes on outside of a job. Believe me, life goes on outside of a job. I have told myself that so many times over the past couple of years, and I can't stress it enough to you. So if you are miserable where you are and you feel that it's making your mental health worse, find something that makes you happy. It's not worth it. It's not. That's one thing I've really learned, unfortunately the hard way. But yeah, I mean, mine's definitely not the worst case of anxiety. It's not the best either, and I'm just here to tell you that, like, you know what, no matter how bad it started, you can always feel better. Like, here I am. And I just feel like so vulnerable in this video. I just feel like I'm like rambling and I feel like I'm not covering off my points that I want to, even though I'm literally following my notes. But yeah, the purpose of this video for me is I just want to put it out there. Like, I want to mold my channel now into something where you get to understand me a bit more, and I want to make it like more personal. And yeah, I just feel like I said, there's not enough of these kind of like casual chatty videos out there, you know, clickbait titles and lots of crying in videos. And I just want somewhere where, you know, you can see what it's like kind of after or when it gets better, if that makes sense. And again, I'm not bashing anybody that does get upset in their videos or does find it really hard to actually put that video out there in the first place, because it is so difficult. And if I was making this video maybe 2 or 3 years ago, then yeah, I would be doing exactly the same. But I just want to make it now so that, I don't know, mental health's always been a big part of my life, so I've always wanted to kind of advocate for that and chat about it quite openly. Anyway, I'm going to answer a couple of your questions, and this is where my answers might be a bit longer, so this is probably going to pack out a little bit of the video. On Instagram, kind of like I might be doing an anxiety video, please send me any responses. Anybody who does send me these, because I doubt this will be the only video that I ever do on anxiety. I will probably do more in the future, especially if people enjoy this or find it informative or comfortable to kind of listen to. Then yeah, if you ever wanted to send me a question about anxiety and you want me to answer it on my YouTube video, or send me any experiences or anything, you'll always remain anonymous, so just to let you know that. So, first question says, I would ask, how do you know if you suffer from anxiety? If you have it, what next? When I was around 15 and I had no idea what it was, like I said, would just start crying out of nowhere and freak out about a lot of things and feel just very overwhelmed all the time. That's a very good word to use to describe the feeling, actually, when I didn't know what it was overwhelmed. was very sensitive as a person as well. I still am, to be honest. I could cry if a gust of wind goes my way. I started off by, you shouldn't really do this because I mean googling your symptoms never goes well, but yeah, I started kind of googling my symptoms, looking into this anxiety thing, and every symptom that I would put in would sprout up anxiety. So I started looking into it a little bit more and realised that I pretty much fit the cut completely. Let me just read to you the definition that the NHS has on anxiety, generalised anxiety disorder. Generalised anxiety disorder in adults. Anxiety is a feeling of unease such as worry or fear that can be mild or severe. Everyone has feelings of anxiety at some point in their life. For example, you may feel worried and anxious about sitting in an exam or having a medical test or job interview. During times like these, feeling anxious can be perfectly normal, but some people find it hard to control their worries. Their feelings of anxiety are more constant and can affect their daily lives. GAD is a long-term condition that causes you to feel anxious about a wide range of situations and issues rather than one specific event. People with GAD feel anxious most days and often struggle to remember the last time they felt relaxed. As soon as one anxious thought is resolved, another may appear about a different issue. Oh, this is handy. It also says when to get help for anxiety. So, although feelings of anxiety at certain times are completely normal, please see your GP if anxiety is affecting your daily life or causing you distress. Your GP will ask you about your symptoms and your worries, fears and emotions to find out if you could have GAD. So, I remember kind of feeling this way and sort of self-diagnosing for quite a while, and the only time that I did eventually go to the doctors was when it started getting a lot worse. So kind of maybe 2 years in, I was probably about 17 or 18 when I was really bad with my anxiety, and it was just affecting my whole life. So it was then I decided to go, went to the doctors, and they were very helpful, and that's when they suggested the medication, and they also suggested counselling through the NHS, but it did have a long waiting list, so I didn't bother at that point. That's when I tried the medication and everything. But yeah, I wouldn't advise waiting as long as I did. If you are feeling the symptoms that I just read out and you think that fits you quite well, just give your doctors a call. I mean, it's so easy to do, and it's so quick. What, 2-minute phone call followed by a 10-minute appointment, and then you can find out if there's anything that they can do to help you. If it is anxiety you're feeling, maybe it's just stress. First thing to do in the next step. And also it's kind of like that feeling of acceptance, and it's kind of like, because I remember like that, because I did self-diagnose for those couple of years that I kind of went round not knowing what was going on. When I eventually walked into the doctor's office and kind of left knowing that yes, there is a name for what you are feeling and it's this, I don't know, it's just kind of like, okay, right, that's a hurdle that I've gotten over, and now I can move on to the next step, sort of thing. So yeah, definitely recommend just getting yourself to the doctor if you think that you fit any of those descriptions. There's online forums, there's lots of apps you can download for anxiety as well. I'm not going to mention any because I don't use any, so I'm not going to vouch for anything that I haven't tried and tested myself. And the condition is more common in people from the ages of 35 to 59. Wow, I did not know that before. 35 to 59. I know a lot of people who are very young, so, and it's not very often that older generations talk about it, so that's interesting. Yes, to go back to the question, that's how I knew I had it, was like googling basically and fitting into that kind of general middle of the range category of feeling anxious all the time. Next question is, how do you calm yourself down after a panic attack, and how do you manage to speak to people about it? So I used to suffer with panic attacks very frequently, especially at the first kind of my younger years of having anxiety, before I knew kind of really what I was dealing with or how I could deal with it. I haven't had a panic attack in a very long time, touch wood. Definitely over a year. I have feelings of panic, but I don't hyperventilate or like have those like 10-minute actual panic attacks anymore. Not to say that I might never get one again, it could happen. I used to calm myself down a lot, like in the middle of a panic attack. All I needed personally is air and water. Just try and get that window open, go outside, open the door, just get some fresh air whilst you're having that panic attack. Like, it's literally your body like struggling to regulate the breathing and it goes into panic mode. you just need to breathe. Try and, I mean, I don't know how much science there is behind this, but if I ever feel my breathing going off now, I breathe in for a count of 4 and breathe out for a count of 8. And it just slows down your heart rate and it helps you breathe a little bit better. And water, yeah, if you can just get a glass of water, and once you're kind of like, if you can focus on just sipping that water, I don't know, it gives you a distraction almost, like just trying to get a little bit of water down you, and it just tends to make you feel a bit better. Obviously your throat's getting quite dry where you're breathing and you'll get very hot. So yeah, those are 2 things that I used to find really worked for me, especially if I was just having the panic attack. After a panic attack, I found that if I had a panic attack on one day, I'm more susceptible to have them for the rest of the day. It's kind of like a domino effect with me. So but they do make me exhausted. I feel absolutely wiped out after I've had one. So a lot of the time I would just sleep, and I just used to sleep a lot. Sleeping helps because it gets your energy back up again. Just do anything that makes you happy, really. Comfort yourself, surround yourself with comfort. So whether you're in a relationship and you need your partner with you, if they can be there, then just, I don't know, have a great big cuddle and watch your favourite film and eat your favourite food if you can, and just try and make yourself feel comfortable and just happy again. That's the best thing that I can recommend. Someone said, what are your best coping methods? So yeah, just go back to the panic attack question. It's not calming myself down after, but to prevent before, I do an exercise called grounding. If you've not heard of grounding, I'll explain to you now what it is and how I do it. If I'm feeling panicked, or like I'm surrounded by one of my triggers, I'll go into my triggers in a little while. The method I use is the 5 senses. So as soon as you start feeling yourself panic, before you actually have that panic attack, try and do this. 5 things I can see, and I list them off in my head. So the good thing about this is you can do this no matter where you are. First thing you can do is 5 things you can see. So for example, I can see my phone, my notebook, my camera, my ring light and my TV. That's 5 things. Then you go on to 4 things that you can feel. So right now, without even moving, so this is really helpful, especially if you're in a public place and you don't want to draw any attention to yourself. Without even moving, I can feel my jumper touching my skin. I can feel my hands touching each other when I'm doing this. I can feel my phone on my leg. I can feel my notebook on my other leg. Obviously if you're at home or you're in a place where you feel more comfortable, it's a lot easier because you can literally reach out and touch the bloody wall if you want to. This one is 3 things that you can hear. So if I'm very quiet, I can hear my clock ticking. I can hear the boiler, so like the central heating on, and I can hear my parents moving around downstairs as well. 2 things that you can smell. So I can smell my perfume, and I can smell my mug of tea as well because it's peppermint tea, so it's got a stronger smell to it. One thing that I can taste is my peppermint tea again. So those are the 5 senses kind of grounding method. I found it really helps me and I've been using that for years now. So coping, it is literally surrounding myself with anything that makes me happy. So if I'm having like a really low mental health day, like I said, I put on my favourite film. Think of your ideal afternoon and do it basically. So my ideal day slash afternoon slash evening is cozying up in bed with Jess, watching a film together, like a Disney film. Like the child in me comes out because I need those comfortable things. So I would probably put on Moana. I watched it for the first time 2 weeks ago and I'm already obsessed, and I've watched it like 3 or 4 times since. So yeah, Moana, I love it. Have a nice little hot chocolate and have some little snacks. So yeah, just think of your ideal afternoon. I mean, that's mine. Yours might be going out and walking the dog. It might be going and watching a film at the cinema, maybe going to your favourite restaurant for some food. Just literally do anything you can to distract yourself, and make sure that you're distracting yourself positively, not just for the sake of I'm doing this to get rid of the anxiety. Like, do it just to make yourself happy again. And you'll find that if you're not thinking like I'm doing this to get rid of the anxious feeling today, you'll realise that it just goes away. Whereas if you keep that in the back of your mind constantly, you'll know that as soon as you stop doing whatever activity it is, as soon as you're back from that meal, as soon as you're back from walking the dog, it'll start again. So you just need to do it to make you happy. To the gym, that's another one. Coping methods. I go to the gym if I'm feeling particularly anxious and I can get myself out of the house. I will go to the gym. Going to the gym is not just something that will work for me, it will work for anybody, because it is literally science. A good workout in will release those happy endorphins and it will flood your body with a positive feeling. You know, you get that like really amazing feeling after you've worked out. It is literally science. So just go and get yourself to the gym, or just go for a run. Like if you don't have a gym membership, go for a run. Do whatever you can. I don't know if this is a placebo effect, but I once saw on the internet somewhere, whether it was Facebook or Twitter, it was like if you stroke a dog, it makes you less anxious. So whenever I'm feeling sad, I don't have a dog, I have a cat, 2 of them actually, I'll go and find my cats and try and keep them in my room with me and give them a great big cuddle. So those are my favourite things to do when I'm feeling anxious, and this as well. So this is how my love of YouTube started. Whenever I used to be anxious, I would sit and watch videos on YouTube. I like to watch, if I'm feeling anxious, I like to watch YouTubers that do very normal things. So for example, my favourite one to watch when I'm anxious is Louise Pentland, aka Sprinkle of Glitter. You wouldn't think that she was somebody I watch, I don't know why, because I mean, she basically films her life as a mum, and I'm not a mum, so not relatable, but it's just like a whole hour-long vlog of her pottering around the house, doing a little bit of cleaning, taking care of her kids, and doing really normal things. It just, I don't know, it distracts me so well. So find what works for you, and if you think that YouTube will help you, then sit and watch YouTube, you know. Last question I've got is good tips for premeditating when you're going to be anxious. So like seeing it coming. Okay, so like seeing when you're going to be anxious and premeditating it and like preparing for that basically. So this is where I'm going to talk about triggers. Triggers, I couldn't have said that any more Bristolian then, could I? Found these out through counselling. So a trigger is something that makes you, in this scenario, feel anxious. It brings on that onset of anxiety. So things that make me anxious are being under pressure. Me in any situation, I don't like feeling, for example, I don't like feeling rushed. I don't like being late because I feel rushed and I feel under pressure. That's just one example. Obviously, if work becomes too much, or I mean, I don't go to uni, but like I can imagine that if I went to uni, I would be an absolute mess, hence why I never went. But yeah, and pressure is a big one for me. It flares up my anxiety quite a bit and makes me kind of get into that fight or flight mode, and then I tend to flight, hence why the whole job thing was hard for me to hold down in the past. Feeling trapped is another one. So this doesn't necessarily mean like small spaces, obviously that doesn't help. The ones that you might not think of are airplanes. So I'm trapped on an airplane because I cannot get off whenever I want to. It's not like I'm in a car and I can pull up into a lay-by and get out. I am trapped and someone else is in control of that and I'm not in control of that. Also, I've worked in like very micromanaged jobs before as well, where someone needs to know where you are every minute of the day. You can't even go and get a glass of water or pop to the loo without them needing to know where you are and why you aren't sat at your desk. That makes me feel trapped. So and that tends to make me feel a bit more anxious as well. So that's something that maybe you wouldn't think of when I say like feeling trapped. Alcohol. So I used to drink a lot. Like I used to be that girl that went out every weekend with their friends and everything, and for the last 2 years that has not been me at all. Last year I went out 5 times, and I can count, like literally I can count it on one hand. I went out 5 times last year. Yeah, I just work a lot better that way, because when I drink, yeah, alcohol gives you like a false sense of security on a night out. It makes you feel really good. I don't doubt that I have great fun on my nights out or anything. It's just the following day. Alcohol messes with your like levels of like the chemicals in your body and the levels. So I think it's serotonin. It either Why was I never good at science? It either lowers or heightens your serotonin levels, whichever it is that makes you feel like more low in your mood. Someone can let me know below. I'm probably sure a lot of people watching this video are much more informative than I am. It messes with your levels of serotonin, so the next day after I've been out the night before, I get very anxious. I don't get hangovers, I just get anxiety to the high heavens. So now if I'm on a night out, I watch what I drink, make sure I eat before I go out, make sure I eat at the end of the night, and I also have like lots of water like at the end of the night, and also sometimes in between drinks. I do get a bit fed up of drinking sometimes. It's been hard to adjust to, because when I first stopped going out a lot, I mean, I still get it now where people are like, oh, you're boring and you don't drink, and come on, drink some more and everything, but you need to know what's best for you and your body. If you're out and you're having a good time and you're doing it the way you want to, then just don't listen to what anybody else has to say, and only go out as much as you want to. Don't feel pressured, don't feel pressured at all. Find friends that you can do sober things with as well. Not every time you meet up with your friends it has to be to go to a bar. Like, you can just go and get a bite to eat at Nando's, and go to the cinema, and go shopping, and I don't know, go to a spa. I'm just naming off things where you don't need to drink at, basically. So there's lots of options. Find that you are getting anxious after drinking. It's not just you, me too, and you just need to know what works for you and how to rein it in. You don't have to stop going out. I certainly haven't. I just go out less because it doesn't appeal to me anymore, because I know that the feeling of anxiety the following day outweighs the actual fun of the night for me. So I will only go out on very special occasions, like my friends' birthdays. It affects me as caffeine, so I don't drink coffee. I don't even really drink tea, you know. I'll have caffeine in kind of like the occasional energy drink, so like a Lucozade, or have it in pre-workout before the gym, because I mean, I'm burning off the energy. But for example, oh, what a story. So me and Jess, a couple of years back, we went to Cornwall for a few nights. We did our food shop down Tesco and everything. It was just like a cozy little kind of week away, and we had like full fat Cokes in the fridge, like the red cans, and I drank maybe 3 or 4 in the space of a couple of hours, and you know they've got a lot of caffeine and a lot of sugar in. And later that night I was literally rocking backwards and forwards in the bed, freaking out that like wasn't familiar with the surroundings. Either someone was going to break in, I found it really creepy in like the cottage all of a sudden that we were staying in, even though it wasn't, like it was beautiful. Like yeah, I just started freaking out and having like a full-blown panic attack in the middle of the night. So yeah, caffeine affects me quite a bit as well, so I won't drink too much of it in one day, and then if I have a caffeine crash, I'm just like wiped out again. So it's like not worth it at all for me. These are my triggers. Answer the question obviously, so premeditating when you're anxious. Finding out your triggers is so important, because then obviously you know if those situations are going to come up where you feel anxious. Like when I go on holiday, I know that when I fly I'm going to be a little bit anxious. Having those triggers in the back of your mind, if you know you're going to be in a situation where those are around, you're more likely to be prepared for it and feel more comfortable heading into the situation, you know. Maybe keep a diary for a week and just write down every time you feel anxious and maybe what led up to that. Those are all my questions. Yeah, so I mean, if anyone wants to reach out to me after this video, my DMs are always open for a little chat, basically. So always leave my Instagram on the screen, but I'll pop it up again for you now, somewhere around here, so that you can head over to my Instagram, give me a little follow, drop me a message if you want to chat about anything to do with anxiety, or you have any questions. If you'd like to see another video on anxiety in the future, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I'm going to watch this footage back and not want to delete it all again and film this all again, because that would be a lot of time I won't be getting back. If you've come from the search bar and you're still watching now, then hello, I'm Daisy. I make videos on lifestyle, fashion, there'll be a bit of beauty coming your way soon as well. So subscribe for hauls, vlogs, beauty vids, you know the drill. Yeah, if you like the video, it lets me know that you want to see some more videos on anxiety in the future. Thank you for your continued support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!